So now that we've got all of our workspaces installed, and the very last one should be the What's New workspace, which is what we're looking at right now, you will also notice that my monitor has gotten much larger, or actually the resolution of the monitor has gotten much larger, which means that everything is much smaller on my monitor. Now this will only be for this video. I'll return back to the resolution where it'll be easier for you to see what I'm doing. But I wanted to show you what it should look like on your monitor, or closer to what it should look like on your monitor, if you're using a monitor that's within the specs of what Painter 12 demands. Now when I'm recording, I'm not able to use a monitor that large, so everything kind of gets squished down. And to that end, we're going to need to create another custom workspace. But before we do that, we're going to go up here to Window. We're going to go to Workspace, and we're going to go back to Default. It'll take a second to switch to default. And then we're going to do something that might seem a little counterproductive, but what we're going to do here is we're going to close out Painter, like so. And the reason why we're doing that is because when we're working with these workspaces, if we come down here at this tab, I've got a Google Chrome web tab open, and this is just one of those things where you could use Internet Explorer, you could use Google Chrome, you could use Firefox, whatever you're comfortable with, but whatever you're using, go ahead and navigate to the Coreal Painter website and navigate to the Painter 12 portion of that website. Now, once you're in there, you'll see that there is a tab for resources. And if you go down here to extra content, you'll see here, this is the place where you download all those workspaces, which is great. That's all fine and well. However, if you click here to the resources page under the workspaces, this is what's important. Each one of those workspaces has its own tutorial video that kind of walks you through what the purposes are and what the thoughts are behind each workspace. So this will be a great help to you to understand why each of those workspaces exist. So I highly recommend that you watch each and every one of these videos and to get a sense of what it is that you're using these workspaces for. So I'm just going to go ahead and close that out now that I've shown it to you. And I'm going to go ahead and reopen Coreal Painter 12. But before I do that, I want to go over here to the Painter 12 user folder and show you that instead of only having the default folder, which is what we had in here before, now we have all of these various different folders that control all of the information for the brushes, the color sets, the gradients, the lighting, the looks, the nozzles, papers, patterns, you name it, the whole nine for that particular workspace. So each one of these folders has all of that information in there. So if you ever run into a problem with a particular workspace, you don't need to delete all of your workspaces. You only need to delete the workspace that's causing the issue. And very often you only need to delete the particular part of that workspace that's causing the issue. Now again, we'll come back to that later. But Painter can be a little glitchy sometimes, and that was part of the reason why I shut this down, was so that we could restart it and give it a clean start after installing all of those workspaces, because if you don't do that, you can sometimes run into problems. And that's part of the issue, that we're waiting for a patch for Painter 12. It hasn't come out yet, but there's some glitches that have been reported and we're waiting for a patch. We'll work around those right now by just be on the safe side, shut it down, restart it, and that'll give you a nice clean start. Now what I want to do here is I want to begin to create a custom workspace. So I'm going to go back up to Window, and I'm going to go over to Workspaces, and I'm going to go ahead and choose a new workspace, and I'm going to call that one Jason. And I'm going to hit Save. Now make sure it's based on default, because we want to start with default. And now if we go up to Window and we go to Workspaces, you'll see there we are. We're in Jason Workspace. Now, as I said, Painter can be a little glitchy sometimes, so whenever you create a new workspace like that, just go ahead and shut it down and then restart it. Doesn't take all that long, and it's just a good idea to do that sort of thing, because sometimes Painter, when you're doing complex tasks like creating workspaces, because workspaces create a lot of information, if you don't do those types of things, then it can potentially cause a crash or corruption of your data. Just a good idea to get into that sort of thing. Now, what I want to do here is I want to begin to set up my user interface here for my workspace that's going to have a better use of screen real estate for my documents that I want to be working in for these videos. And I want you to have that same workspace, so just follow along with me and do what I do. So we're going to go up to Edit, Preferences, and we're going to choose Interface. And over here on the toolbox layout, we're going to choose, instead of vertical single column, we're going to choose vertical double column. And for media layout, we're going to choose the horizontal single row. And then the default view mode, we're going to change that to full screen. I'm going to hit OK. So now we've got our toolbox over here, and you can see that it's got everything in a more compact way than it was before, but it's 2 rows sideways instead of being 1 row long way. And then our media, instead of it being long down here like it was before, now it's horizontal, so we can stick this wherever we want to. The other thing that I want to do is I want to go over here and I want to click on this little gray bar that you see here and drag this guy off like so. And then I'm going to go up to Window, and I'm going to choose the recent brushes, and I'm just going to turn that off, and that's going to get rid of that gray bar that you saw. Now the reason why we don't need those recent brushes up here, which is typically what you will see in the user interface for Painter, is because those are duplicated here at the top of our brushes. The other thing that I want to do while I'm in here my brushes, I want to come over here to this context menu, and I want to change my category display to as list, like so. And then I'm basically good to go from there, and we'll just go ahead and begin to open a new document. But before we do that, just go ahead and shut down Painter one more time. Like I said, whenever you're doing anything that's complex like creating a new workspace, shut it down, restart it. That way you avoid any crashing or corrupting of data. So now that we've got that, I'll go ahead and meet you in the next video with my display resized back down to the place where it will be for the rest of this video series.